Okay, we are live streaming. I'm going to call the meeting to order. At this time, I'd like to remind council and municipal staff that this meeting is being live streamed to the public. All council meetings are also recorded. Recordings will be available to the public on the township's YouTube account. Physical attendance of the public at this meeting is restricted due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This meeting is held electronically under Bylaw 2020-70 to amend Procedural Bylaw 2018-117 pursuant to Section 238 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. We'll move to the adoption of the agenda. Now, there are some amendments to the agenda. Just for council to note that the in-camera session is a timed item at 4 p.m. And item 6.1.2 is amended to include the municipal report on tender 2021-01 hot mix by Hillary Kuchkowski, and it's dated May 4th, 2021. So with that, the recommendation is that the council and committee meeting agenda for Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 be approved as amended. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. All those in favor? And that's carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest?
None. None here.
Okay, I'm not seeing any. So we'll move to our delegation this afternoon. We have Doug Whipperman. I don't know if Norm didn't get to join us, but if he does, Norm Doling, Al Best, and Joe Muscat of the Madawaska Shoreline Owners Association, and they're here regarding waterway safety and erosion along the waterways within the township. So I guess I will turn it over to you, Doug, and please proceed. And I guess Gwen will show your presentation. So we may take a couple seconds to get that to happen.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks. Thank you, Mayor Love and council members for entertaining us today and letting us bring to you some concerns we have, and we'll walk through the presentation with you once loaded.
Okay.
Sorry, Doug, I was expecting you to share your screen. Did you want me to share mine or?
No, I can do it. Just
okay, that works better for me.
Okay. Very good. Yep. Everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Doug, just before you get started, could we go through the presentation and take questions afterwards? Because it's very hard for me to see everyone if someone puts their hand up. I may not be able to see them down the side of the screen. Is that okay with you?
It's absolutely fine. Your preference. We'll walk through and then we can have a Q&A after.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So I'm just going to get this into a different view here. Okay. So who's the Madawaska Shoreline Owners Association is on our agenda today, as well as we want to describe what our association and focus and issues are in these four categories. And we've broken them down into order of priority: safety, erosion, awareness, and enforcement. And then we will end with an objective as well as a Q&A at the conclusion. So who are we? Well, quite simply, we're shoreline property owners within the township. And, we've pulled together because we have common concerns, regardless of which waterway we happen to live on, that we feel are impacting the safety of the waterway and contributing accelerated erosion to the shoreline and subsequent property damage. And by property damage, we mean not just the earth, but, docks and boats and the like. And when it comes to safety and watercraft, we want to make it clear that all types of watercraft is what we're concerned with here in terms of safety. So what are our issues and what our focus has been? We've had 4 meetings. We started back in February. And the issues are universal, although the solutions may be slightly different. So our focus, you can see the diagram here where it's safety of both the watercraft and the property owners, we feel is our number one concern. Erosion leading to property damage, of course, awareness. And by that, we mean those that use the system need to be aware of the issues as described in the first two elements. And then, of course, enforcement. And how do you do that? If there's solutions that are endorsed and proposed to the various people that can, in fact, enforce them, what does that look like and by whom? So let's talk about 4 main elements. Safety. Well, a lot of what we see is based on our observations over the last number of years. And there's no question that there's motorized watercraft traveling far too fast for the location. We all agree that out in the middle of the lake, it's not such a big deal, because swimmers and kayakers and paddleboarders generally aren't that far away from shore. And where they do create wakes out in the middle of the lake, by the time they get to shore, they're really not a lot of consequence. But as they're speeding too fast for the location, we've all observed, or certain members of the group have observed, the upsetting of canoes and kayaks and paddleboards and the like. Dangerously close to swimmers, when young fellows and young ladies and children are at their property and they're swimming, we observed sea-doos and watercraft going at high rates of speed, and all there might be is a little head bobbing or a swimmer, and there's not a lot of visibility. And I hate to say it, but we've also observed that much like our highway system, we notice people on social media and texting while they're on these waterways, and it would only take a moment of inattentiveness for one of those swimmers to be in peril. However, there's also large waves on the shoreline where the youngsters are playing on the sand, and of course people on floating docks, and getting quite a ride when those wakes hit them because that watercraft was traveling too fast for the location. Erosion is the second component. Our observations and cause. Well, spring thaw, of course, Mother Nature will be what it is. So there's not an awful lot we can do there, but we do recognize it as a cause for some of the erosion. Ontario Power Generation along some of the waterways within the township, the Madawaska and Kaministkeg and further on down through, certainly have had, Ontario Power Generation can certainly impact those waterways. And they do contribute each year to some extent based on their decisions, and they have some tough decisions to make. We appreciate that. But specifically 2017 and 2019 caused some significant damage. It's been really hard to overcome, if not impossible to overcome with the exposed banks and now. And then of course, we also know that the York River, as it enters into Conroy Marsh, and the coordination of the Bark and the York is challenging for Ontario Power Generation. So we do recognize that there's an element there of a publicly owned company. Watercraft speed contributes. Again, the unwarranted speeds too close to shore further damages the shoreline in a continual way during the day. And it strips vital vegetation, which is imperative to the stability of the banks. And there's been so many banks left exposed, that's lost all of their vegetation, we see the shoreline decreasing rapidly in some locations. So it's something that over the long term, we need to be aware of and look to solutions. And as I indicated, the 27 and 2019 really exposed certain areas and are under pressure to have the shoreline continue to degrade. So what are the impact of those observations? Well, it's clear the loss of shoreline continues, as does property damage. Fish and wildlife are certainly impacted. Those waterfowl that nest really close and right on water's edge to stay away from predators, specifically loons, for example, they're certainly impacted as the wakes wash over their nesting areas. And of course, the loss of bank vegetation, including 100-year-old pine trees that in some areas are now laying in the waterway. So just a few pieces here. These are from the flood in 2017 and the high water mark. Pictures you've all seen before. Pretty devastating. But really, what it leads to, that Ontario Power Generation has led to things like this. And those banks are now exposed, and this is up and down the Madawaska River system. And whether your property is a location like this or something more level where your property runs out and it's just grass, there is still a lot of undermining and this going on. And the trees continue to fall in these exposed areas because the boat traffic just continues to pound that loose sand. Here's a location just as we get close to Hydes Bay. And of course, I'm sure you all know where this is. This is just across, all these photos just across from Pine Cliff Park that saw so much of the damage all at the one time. So awareness, I think, I would like to think that all property owners on the waterway, they certainly understand everything that I've talked about in the first two pieces. Whether they use that awareness and respect that awareness, I can't say, but part of awareness is reaching out to every user of the waterway. And as the township and surrounding townships get busier with tourists and renting and owning properties and vacationing with family and friends, in order to slow down some of these issues, awareness is a really important piece. So some of our early brainstorming, we talked about the potential for increased signage at public boat launches. Social media is a big thing these days, although I'm not on it, but lots are. So, just to name a few, there's Facebook and websites and, potential opportunity or in renters handbooks at various camps and resorts. We could talk about, no wake and responsible boating and the like, potentially mailers in township mailouts or at the tourist information center. All of these things, of course, require township approval, maybe not the renter's handbook or things like that, but anything that the township logo might be on or be interested in would certainly need to be vetted and approved by you folks for sure. So we also thought that with social media, in conjunction with and working in partnership, no wake signs in strategic locations along the waterway. One thing we've discovered that everybody agrees is the current messages are not consistent. And when a message isn't consistent, and you can see the messages that are out there now, users are just going to, I think they're going to just realize that they can do what they want, really. They'll likely take the highest one, which is 10 kilometers an hour. voters can't judge whether they're going 5 kilometers an hour or 10 kilometers an hour. The issue really is, does it leave a wake? And when they're inconsistent like that, I think what the people really believe is, and I think it's evident, the users, that these are just property owners trying to protect their own property, and they've got a makeshift sign or whatever, and these are not enforceable. So they disregard that. They disregard the property owner's real concerns because of the inconsistent messages. So we've talked about, there's a couple of buoys out there, about moving the current buoys and maybe adding several new locations. And one thing that we want to emphasize is there are waterways within the township that are along the Madawaska, and there's what I'll call inland or enclosed lakes, like the Carson and Lepine and the like, that have the same issues, but probably, we believe, require slightly different solutions. It won't be a one-size-fit-all. The committee is willing to work through that and come up with some solutions for your review at a future meeting, given the type of waterway that we're talking about. Now, what about enforcement? Well, to date, the Kilodu OPP have been engaged, and they understand the safety issues, and they will certainly meet with us again and provide any guidance they can. They're certainly fully engaged in the safety on the waterway. It's equally as important to them as on the King's highways. So they'll continue to work with us as we have questions and build our approach. And they're, for the no wake and speed enforcement, they really need the VORR. And in terms of that, we've done some investigation on that piece too. We understand that the municipality plays a big part if you can get a VOR. So we understand the municipality's role in that. And I think the important piece is, we all want to use the waterway, even all of us property owners, we use the waterway too. And we don't want to restrict it. We just want to make it safer. And as you can see right in the federal government, that's where this line comes from, or this phrase. It comes right out of the boat piece in the federal government. So of note and in summary, we've had quite a time getting the actual right people at Transport Canada at boating safety. Since COVID, it's a little more challenging, but we are determined we will track the right people down. It's a task that I've taken on. Mr. Yakubuski, we have spoken with his executive assistant last week, and John is aware of what this committee's about and that we were going to come to council today. We didn't want him being unaware, and we didn't want you being unaware that we had engaged them to see what they could help us with. And they had some good advice for us to work away at. And of course, as I indicated earlier, the OPP are happy to chat with us and give us advice along the way as we make headway. So in summary, our purpose was simply to make council aware that there are some property owners along the lake systems within the township that have got concerns. And we're very much committed to moving this initiative along for the use of the improvements for all waterway users, both watercraft and the property. So what is our ask today? Is we're seeking that council may consider supporting us as we investigate safety and environmental solutions to bring back. Fully understanding that not all the solutions may be something that council is supportive of, but we would certainly at least like the opportunity in the future to bring some potential solutions for discussion and remodeling if required. at different junctions as we move through the process. So that's my presentation. I will stop sharing and we can have some questions. There we go.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Doug. We certainly appreciate the presentation. I love this. It's like Hollywood Squares. I've got to find all the members of council because every time we come back, everybody's moved. Okay. So okay, where are the rest of my council? 2, 3, oh, there. Okay, sorry, found you guys. Literally everybody had moved totally. Okay, so are there any questions from council about the presentation to the presenters? Councillor Wilmer?
Not a question so much as I'd just like to say thank you. And I also just have a few comments. I think certainly we need to deal, as soon as possible with the inconsistent messaging. That's something that I think can be dealt with relatively easily, and we can do. But I also feel too that it's very easy for us to use our website, our media capabilities, our social media capabilities. And I think that's really important in our township. We really need to protect our lakes and waterways. So I think sometimes we're looking for things to put into the space, particularly in the Valley Gazette. So it would be great to get information that we could use and put into that section. At least that's my feeling. I haven't talked to staff yet, which probably should. And then the other thing too is when you come to your ask at the end, I think that would be fairly easy for us to put a motion forward just to support your efforts, because I think what you're doing isn't requiring any, great resources from the township, but it's asking us to support and help if we can. So I appreciate it, and those are just my comments.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wilmer. Just to quickly respond to what you just said, I did do some research on vessel operation restriction regulations, and it is a regulation that the municipality would be applying for. And there is a significant process to actually implement one of those regulations. I'd like to suggest to council that we do need to have more information. I would like you to have more information before you were committing to go forward with something like that. So there is a local authorities guide. It's about a 38-page guide on how to apply and what is required to actually implement a vessel operation restriction regulation. There's also information on private buoy regulations, and I didn't have time on the weekend to investigate whether the buoys that the municipality does maintain on the river are considered private buoys or if they're considered public buoys because we're a municipality. But I think we do need some further research on that just to understand what the environment we will be working in to make any changes to the waterway that are enforceable, because you don't want to do something that isn't enforceable. Then your work with the OPP, for example, it puts them in a very awkward position. So I think that as a municipality, there's some information we need to gather, we need to review, and have our staff get that and bring it to our next meeting, so that our next council and committee meeting, so that we can just review that and be aware of those issues and those steps. Councillor Wilmer, yes.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. And I guess you're referring specifically to the speed limits on the waterway on that. I guess and I understand that process, that it will take some time, but I think we should look at it and work on it. I guess the majority of my sort of comments were on the other things that I think we can do relatively easily as a municipality.
Absolutely. And in actual fact, preliminary steps that you have to demonstrate that you have done in the process involve that you can demonstrate you have attempted to educate the public and to you know, to basically convince them that this is a good idea, to voluntarily to have people slow down, to have these things recognized and respected. So that's actually a step in the process. So that's why I want council to see those steps, because I think what your group is doing helps to get us at least through the preliminary steps of the process, because we have to be able to demonstrate that we have done that. We have done the education component. We have, you know, attempted to get people to understand this is a good thing that they should be doing to contribute towards the safety of the waterway. So I just want council to be able to see all those steps, and I think that means that we can build a good working relationship with your group and do exactly what you said, Councillor Wilmer, begin the process of education and positive reinforcement of the good messaging that we would need to do anyways. I noticed Councillor Poplinski's hand was up. Councillor Poplinski. Oh, and you are muted, sir. Okay, here we go.
Are we okay?
You're okay now.
Okay, thank you, and good presentation, Doug. And I think that you've raised the issues about the VORs, and the mayor has talked about that. I think that's very important to know that and what might need to be done. And I do agree that in the meantime, we could certainly address the issue about trying to support this this venture by our social media and so on. I know we're the committee that we met last week with the development and advertising and promotion, so on, talked about signage and talked about maps and talked about handouts. And I think that would be something very worthwhile, something to have also, let's say, in the kiosk in Combermere and signs posted in Barry's Bay and Combermere at the docks. I think those are all great ideas, and those are little things that we could do. I think that Mr. Kachkowski has been very involved in the past with putting up the buoys along the waterway. He might have some ideas, and also he might even have some signage that's available that could be utilized as well. So I just put that out there, and I would like for him to comment about that.
Okay, thank you. Hillary, are you available, Mr. Kachkowski?
I saw him there.
Okay, yes, he is in the middle there. Okay. Oh, there he is.
I'm here.
Okay.
Yes. What can I do? I listened to it, and it is all relevant. We do put the buoys out because we have a bylaw in place right now through Oceans and Fisheries, and the points are between just above. I'm not good with the waterway, just above Mr. Whipperman. Then I believe south or north of the what's that called, north where it turns. Mike is very familiar with the waterway, but we do have a bylaw in place, and we put the buoys on each end. That's all we have here is the bylaw, and we recognize it through Oceans and Fisheries. So it is in place. And then I got a few signs from Mr. Whipperman. He kindly installed them for us. So we try and do our part as much as we can. Unfortunately, we don't have a boat. So we have to rely on good people like you guys to put the stuff out for us.
Okay, thank you, Hillary. So I think that's information that also should be brought back to council, any bylaws or anything that we have in place currently, because it's important that we understand what we can do. And as I said, it's super important to ensure that anything we do that we're expecting to be enforced and what method that enforcement will entail, it has to be, you want it to stand up. You don't want it to not be able to be enforceable. And if it's ticketable offenses, then you need those tickets to stand up in court. Otherwise, it doesn't have any teeth. So I think it is very important that we go through this process, learn more about it, and certainly your group is stepping forward. We certainly appreciate that. The communications and education components, some messaging, if you could provide us with some messaging that you were interested in having dispersed, that would be something that if council approves a motion to do that, we could then run that through our communications and assist in ways to get the public educated. Because the first thing obviously is to get people to recognize that there is a problem. Not all people do, or they would not, there wouldn't be excessive speeds, there wouldn't be the issues you're bringing to us. Any other comments, questions from council for the delegation? Councillor Schulist.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. Listen, great presentation. Yeah, I definitely will support this initiative. We have to work on this here. You're protecting our greatest asset in Madawaska Valley, and if there's any motion on a table, I will definitely support it. So thank you very, very much.
Okay, any
Thank
other
you.
members of council with any questions or discussion points? Okay, everybody just moved again. Okay, double checking. No, I don't see anyone else. Sue, at this point, typically we basically have received this information. Is this something that we'll just seek the further information and come back and do a motion at the meeting that we will have the further information at?
I think that would be
Sue?
best.
I could propose the motion now.
Well, I'm just
Mayor,
wondering
if you'd like.
if it would be best if we had brought it all together at our next council and committee meeting, any information we currently have that the municipality has, and that gets it all in one place. And like I mentioned, the local authorities guide, so council can review that. And we should determine, I noticed that there was mention of the possibility of there being more buoys put out. We need to determine what's that process. How did we, that bylaw has probably been in place for a while. So we'd want to know what the process was to make that legitimate things you're putting in the waterway, right? Because we don't just randomly do it. We have to have the proper process. So could we bring all of that back to our next meeting and then have a motion at that time, at least to address the communications component? And in the meantime, gentlemen, if you could put your heads together towards some of that education, communication, what you think that would look like, and provide us with some copy that we could, look to incorporate. Would that be all right?
Yes, we can do that, Mayor Love. When is your next meeting so we can get together and make sure we have that stuff for you?
Okay, 1 second. It would be our council and committee meeting in June, is June 1st.
Okay, we'll have
So
that.
if you could have that back to us by, because of the agenda being prepared, Gwen, is the deadline the Thursday before? Okay, that
Yes,
would be
works, Kim.
the 27th of May is the Thursday. Is that too short a timeline for you?
No, we'll do that.
Okay. So that then can go in our agenda package with all the other information that our staff will gather, and we can have a fairly in-depth discussion at that point and make sure that our motions are effective.
Okay, thank you. Well,
Okay.
thank you for your time today. And we know council's busy with dozens of things. We're a volunteer group, so if you need us to do some heavy lifting to make the partnership move along quicker, feel free to do so and reach out.
Okay, thank you. If you do have any of the documentation that our staff would need, if you could, on the process of the regulation process, other than the documents that I did mention, please provide it to our staff so that it can go to council and we'll have a chance to read it. Sue, I think you had your hand up. I'm sorry.
I did. I just wanted to ensure that I have, I've clearly depicted the staff direction. So if I may, so
Okay.
council is directing staff to bring back a report to the next council in committee, providing options how the municipality can assist the group with promotion, education, safety messaging, and public awareness through different media forms and municipal publications, and that staff provide council with the local authorities guide, relevant speed bylaws, and identify the next steps and considerations to address speed enforcement for vessel operations restriction regulations.
Okay. Is that a clear direction? Any concerns from any member of council on that direction? I think that captures it and gives us a starting point.
Yes.
I'm not seeing anyone with any concerns. So yes, please, that would be perfect. And I do note that Karen's iPad, sorry, I don't know who you are, has joined us.
Norm.
Is it Norm? Okay.
Hi, Norm.
So, Norm.
It's Norm, your neighbor.
Okay, Norm, and it's so hard to tell in these little boxes, honestly, because I've got massive numbers of them here. But okay, Norm, it's just good to know that you were able to join us, and we appreciate your attendance as well.
Thank you.
I wanted to make sure that was noted for Gwen, who will have to identify that in the minutes of the meeting. All right. So, is there anything further for this group? Oh, I did think of something when you were doing the presentation. Have you talked to any of the cottage association groups? You may want to have some discussions with the various cottage associations. They will all be, I don't know if they'll be doing AGMs this year because of COVID, but certainly having, Al, I know you were directly involved as the person who actually started the cottage association in your area. And it might be worthwhile to connect with the Paw Lake Property Owners Association, the Kajubi Cottagers Association, Kapoa, and Carson, Trout. Al, help me.
It's Al.
I know it's Al, but it's now Wendy. Lapine, is it Lapine and Greenan? Al, you're muted. I'm sorry.
You're right.
Okay. I know there's 4 of them, and I just
Right.
I never.
Carson, Trout, Lapine, and Greenan.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Lapine and
Joe.
Greenan.
I have
Yeah.
no doubt.
So if you could connect with the cottage associations, I think that's a good way to get some positive education and support as well through those lines of communication to many of our shoreline property owners who are the ones that actually use the waterway. So I just wanted to suggest that back to you.
Yeah, no, great advice. Thanks. We'll do that. And I want to thank all of council for entertaining us for half an hour today with our ask and this important issue.
No problem. Thank you very much for bringing it to us, and thank you for doing the legwork.
Thanks.
We do appreciate it.
Okay. Take care.
Take care, all of you.
Okay. Thank you.
And we don't force you to watch the rest of the meeting, because that would be cruel punishment.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right. Yeah. All right,
Thanks,
everyone. Okay, with that, we will move on to our council and committee portion of the agenda. All recommendations from the standing committees are recommendations to council and are pending the approval of council at a subsequent meeting. Our first standing committee is Operations, Roads, and Waste Management, and I will turn it over to Chair Bromwich.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. We have 4 items on the operations report here. What I'll do is maybe cover all 4 of them and then allow Sue to read the recommendations at the end, if that's appropriate.
If I may, it is easier for minute taking if we can just do the resolutions under each item.
Okay, I'll do that for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. 6.11 is a report from Mike Phillips regarding Pog Lake road construction project update, and it's fairly straightforward. Maybe I'll let you speak to it. Mike, you can give us a little extra information here, or just at least cover what's going to happen in the next little while. To you, Mike.
Okay, thanks, Carl. Yes, so I got a little report here for the Pog Lake road construction. Some background information that we all know. Obviously, the project was started in 2019 with the culverts and some of the major groundwork being completed. And then in 2020, we did the majority of the project with the paving and all the rest of that good stuff. So now they're just back here this spring to finish it up for us, which is great. So we have a couple of things that I'd gone through with our project managers here and said stuff they're going to do. We got the general cleanup mostly in the downtown core here, topsoil and seed also in this area, fixing some shoulders up that just grades and whatnot that didn't get quite finished properly last year, And then we're going to do some granular sealing on those areas to stabilize them to make sure they set up nicely. Resetting the manholes in town. I'm not sure if anybody's been out that way, but you can tell as they didn't get their grades quite correct on some of the manholes, and so they have to do that, and then the asphalt repair work. Also some final grading for some of the entrances along that road, just the driveways and whatnot that we ran out of time. And then when everything's done, we'll clean out all the catch basins and storm sewers, and that'll wrap up the project. So I don't know if anybody has any questions on that. I'll take them, but other than that, it's just for information.
To you, Mayor Love. You're muted. There you go.
No, here we go. Thank you, Chair. To Mike, I just wondered how this new surface has weathered the winter, because as they're cleaning up and tidying up these elements they have left to do, I'm just hoping that the surface of the road that we have laid down has weathered its first winter well, and there are no concerns.
Yeah, road surface itself has wintered well. There is a couple of issues with some of the late season paving they did on the boulevards in town, and then some of the paved entrances, but they're going to get that all fixed up and tore out. It's part of the plan with when they do the final paving for the catch basins and stuff. So, but the main roadway itself does look like it weathered quite well over the winter.
Good,
Yeah,
thank you.
there's one section there that people are complaining about that seems to have a ripple effect, that I don't know how the warm weather will settle that down, but it's from the BEI pit area through to, I believe it's from Lesky Road or up that way. It's a fairly short piece that seemed to be the last portion that was done last year, and that's the complaints I've been getting, is that surface needs to be treated. So I think that's part of the program that's been established, but we can talk further on that if you want. I've had many phone calls on that area, so
Yes.
I think you know about it.
Absolutely, yes. I also had lots of back and forth on that section, and lots of workings with our engineer and the project manager on that job. We did do some sampling and stuff, and it looks like everything, we're still going through the results, but everything came back good. And in the spring, when everything warmed up, it laid down and it rides nicely, and we don't notice any visible distressing in the asphalt. So these are all good signs. So we're not too sure what went on there, if it was something in the sub base or whatnot, but it seemed to all lay down nicely, and all the tests came back good. So it's a good sign.
We had a lot of opinions on why it went wrong.
Yeah.
There's a few road experts out there that said that there was asphalt being laid on frozen ground and whatever. So it'd be nice to see it flatten out in the natural way it should. So thanks, Mike, very much. Any other comments from council on this? If not, I'll ask Sue if you could read a recommendation, please, Sue.
That the Pog Lake construction project update report is just accepted as information, so I don't need a motion
Right
for
on.
that one.
Thank you very much. The next one is by invitation to tender. Whoop, gotta get my glass here. I can't see what I'm doing. Getting really old, I think. Hot mix payment, and we received an email just at lunch hour on the details on this. And I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Maybe Hillary could just give everybody a little heads up on what happened. Thank you, Hillary.
Through you, Chair, the tenders closed on April 22nd. Due to COVID restrictions, we did an internal opening, and 3 tenders received good pricing. The lowest was BEI at $483,102.12. And I actually added up the total budget for what is being planned for this year: Chepesky Mill, Pulaski Drive, and Jackpine Street at $540,000. So we're in good shape. Came in at 483, and the recommendation is as follows. You want me to read it?
Any discussion on that through council before the recommendation is read out? I don't see any. About you, Mayor Love?
Sorry, Chair, just a quick question. When we tender, is there a contingency built into the tendered price? So is there like a 10% or some percentage of contingency, or is, if anything goes wrong in the process, then we we can expect there may be a cost overrun. I'm just trying to ascertain that.
We don't build in a contingency. We try and get it to what, well, we can't take it to 540, you know, and extra length or whatever. The beauty of the way we're doing this is we can add or take away a little bit of road base or a little bit of pavement, you know, if it doesn't have to end somewhere. So that's how we do it.
Okay, just to follow up then, I just wanted to ascertain, you know, because this came in under budget, it's not necessarily a bad thing that we have a little bit higher budget. In case anything does go wrong, there's a little bit of money to play with there. And so going forward, if there's still money to spend and there are no problems, would you then anticipate stretching the pavement a little in some of the areas that you're doing? Don't know, maybe Chepeski Mill Drive or Wilowski? Is that what your goal would be, to bring the projects in on budget?
That's the goal.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Any other discussion on this? If not, Sue, would you read the recommendation, please?
Sorry, had to find the unmute button. That council recommend to approve lowest tender MV 2020-01 hot mix pavement by BEI Incorporated in the amount of $483,102.12, HST included, subject to requirements of the contract, and that it be applied against account 1508-14-703013 roadway capital construction expense.
Also move that. Could I have a seconder, please? Seconder by Councillor Wilmer, and all in favor? And that is passed. Thank you very much. 6.1.3 surface treatment. This is another tender, and I'll allow maybe Hillary, you can give us a little more background on it also.
Through you, Chair, Carol, Mr. Bromwich. So we did surface treatment tender 2020-02, and 2 came in, Greenwood Paving and Miller Paving. So this is for Arba Vita Road. We have $175,000 budgeted, and it came in at $143,668.20, HST included. So good pricing again. Pavement seems to be doing well in the budget area.
Any discussion on that? We'll take it for sure, eh, Hillary? To you, Councillor Wilmer.
No, I just wanted to say that I appreciate the reports the way they are with the, what I do appreciate is having the financial impact and the total budget. And it's really nice to see these coming in under budget consistently. And I just realized we did just get an update on the other, the previous hot mix report that has the total budget. So do appreciate that. And I like the reports are, but to me, having the total budget is important, and it's nice to see that we're coming in under budget on these ones.
It's about time, eh? A little break goes a long way these days. Any further discussion? If not, I'll get Sue to read the recommendation, please.
To the chair, that the lowest tender MV 2020-02 surface treatment by Greenwood Paving Limited in the amount of $143,668.20, HST included, subject to requirements of the contract be approved, and that it be applied against account 1508-14-703013 roadway capital construction expense.
Also move that. If I could get a seconder, please. Seconder by Councillor Schulist. Any further discussion? All in favor? And that is passed. Thank you very, very much. Last but not least, we have our financial report on, where the heck is my, anyway. Hillary, you've got it's fairly self-explanatory. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to read it or not. Expenses versus actual here. Does anybody have any questions on this? And to you, Mayor Love.
Okay, thank you. I'm wondering if the treasurer is available. Hi,
There she
Amanda.
Hi.
Okay, Can you go to page 39 in the council package? I'm a little bit puzzled at the second line from the top in revenues. It says roads recovery expense, and the budget is 2,000, but the year to date says 46,503.20. Which I don't understand. And I came across a couple of instances in the accounts as I went through where the year to date numbers just didn't seem to make sense. They didn't seem to be what I was anticipating. So what I'm going to ask Amanda is, could you just explain to me what the year to date should be showing us?
For the roads recovery expense, it's likely that it was, okay, let me see if I can pull it up here for you. Hold on. 66. So the number that is throwing that off is we have some expenditures that we I don't know how to say it, for the Lakewoods Drive project, where we have been maintaining the winter maintenance. So we expense it out of one line, and that's where, when we draw down, that's where the money goes into that account. So it's a little bit higher than what was actually budgeted because they're unanticipated revenues.
Okay, so I think what I need then, because we're just starting to get these reports as a council, and they're starting to be fleshed out by the budget. So what does the current column give us in general? I'm gonna, just so we all understand what we're looking at. The current column is?
The current column is the current period. So this month, April.
Just April?
I know we're in May. I know that we are currently in May, but this is for April.
Just April, not January to April?
No, current is for April, and then year to date is from January to April.
Okay, so that's super important that we understand that, because otherwise it's a bit confusing. And my experience at the County of Renfrew is current would be everything up to today, and year to date would be what the budget says it should be. Right? If the budget was for the 4 months, it would be this amount, and current is the amount it actually is. So that's why I was seeking that clarification, because throughout these financial reports, it felt inconsistent to me from my previous experience with similar reporting that does the variance, etc. So that's why I want everyone to be very clear we understand. So when we're looking at the current column on any of these financial reports, that's for the month in which this report is printed and no more. When we're looking at the year-to-date column, that's for everything from the beginning of year to the month, including the month in which this was printed.
Correct.
Okay, want that to be, so we all clearly understand what we're looking at, because that's going to save you a lot of questions just from those two columns alone. Okay, thanks, Amanda. I really appreciate you clarifying that, because every financial report is subtly different. And as I say, this isn't what I'm looking at when I'm looking at County of Renfrew. I'm looking at slightly different versions. So I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Any further discussion on this? Is there any other items that you're questioning? Anybody? If not, we can just take this as information, and that will finalize my report. Thank you. Back to you, Mayor Love.
You are muted.
Sorry, Chair, just give me 1 second. I just want to write down those 2 points that Amanda clarified, because for me, this is going to be a shift in thought every time. So current means the month of the report. And year to date. Year to date is the year to date. Okay, that's fine. I just needed to know about current. All right, thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
So that completes operations, roads and waste management. We'll move to operations, water, wastewater, and facilities. And I'll turn it over to Chair Schulis. There he is.
Hello, through you, Madam Chair. We're on the air. So we're going to start off with municipal reports 7.11. And it looks like we're going to be spending some money here. And pages 43 to 51. Maybe Ashley, you could let us know about these invoices. Thank you.
Of course. Can everybody hear me okay?
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I do have a few expenditures over the first quarter. The first one, I don't know if you want to go through the report page by page. I'll start in order off the title page municipal report, being English Street sewer flushing for 5979 Barry's Bay Sewage. It was just a problem area that has been noted that there's been some heavier accumulation that needed to be flushed. So we utilize a hydrovac and a power flusher to remove that and clean the sanitary system. 5972 CL2 weigh scales were forecasted for the chlorine bottles that inject the chlorine into the water system as a disinfectant. The original scales were still original from 75. So these ones are quite welcome. They're integrated into the SCADA system, which will provide an alarm also if they're getting lower than what they should be. Oxygen probe and calibration for 5979 was a probe that failed. That it uses this monitor controls how much dissolved oxygen is going into the wastewater system, and which is a very integral part of the process. So if it's not working properly, we consume more hydro, more blower hours, things of that nature. So it was required to be replaced. 5979 piping for biosolids hauling. It was just simply an extension that we carried through the building. I believe when the plant was first designed, the outlet for that was approximately 100 feet from where the truck could get to it. So we had to run lay flat hoses all the way over to get to the back of the truck. So this way it mitigates a lot of the like the spill plans and things of that nature. So the truck can back right up to it now. And that was all conducted by Aqua staff in-house. So does anybody have any questions pertaining to those?
Yes, any questions, Madam Mayor?
Thank you, Chair. I just wondered, Ashley, are any of these budgeted items, or are these items that we can expect to be, that have popped up that needed to be dealt with at the time?
They're all forecasted. However, like Amanda and I just had a brief discussion over the dissolved oxygen probe. That would fall into the category of electrical and instrumentation control. So yes, in fact, they were all budgeted for in the capital forecast for 2021. Yes.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Okay, anybody else have any questions on this? All right, we're going to be spending some money. I think we have to have a motion here. So Madam CEO, if you could read the recommendation.
Yes, through the chair, that the Ontario Clean Water Agency expenditures as presented totaling $13,044.93, invoices work order 2223384, 2093357, 2093362, 2093358 be approved as presented.
Okay, I'll move it. I need a seconder. Councillor Poplinski. Any other discussion on this recommendation? I don't see any. All in favor? That is carried. All right, we're going to move on to the next one here. Just give me a second. We'll get this out. Now this one here is 7.12, water main connection procedure. It's something that I think is warranted here. Maybe Ashley, you could let us know a little bit more about this here, because I know this is definitely going to help, with anything that we do in the future with connecting and so on. So go ahead, Ashley.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so I put this document together. It entails the water main connection procedure for any new water main to be installed within the municipality that's over 4 inches in diameter and greater than 6 meter lengths. So a water main break does not fall into this. It has its own category for that kind of scenario. It uses provincial best standards, and it just ensures that proper methods are employed while the installation of new water mains are being put in place. It involves superchlorination, pressure testing, and cleaning procedures, as well as microbiology testing that have to be conducted and passed prior to the new water main being put into service, so to speak. Yeah, it follows Bill 651, or the AWWA best practice, as well as it also works in hand with the municipal drinking water license for the Barry's Bay water drinking system. That is pretty much it in a nutshell. It is still in a draft at this point, just pending small revisions and further discussions as we move forward. Aqua staff will conduct the microbiology testing just to verify and oversee certain steps at the process of when the new water mains are being installed, as we are the licensed operating authority. And yeah, so we just want to make sure everything is installed correctly. It's not gonna, it's got to be pressure tested to make sure it doesn't leak. It's got to be swabbed to ensure it's clean. The testing ensures that the water is safe and everything is good prior to it being physically connected to the system and put into service.
I think this is a very solid document for sure. Now you're mentioning it's in the draft form. Now, is there any questions from council? I would have to say Madam Mayor has a question. Oh, there she is. Go ahead.
Sorry, Chair. It's just a simple question. The policy is great, fantastic. It's about time we had something clearly identifying all these steps. It's obviously not an easy thing to bring new services onto the system and make sure that everything is safe and clean and protected. But I just wondered why the township representative listed on page 54 of our agenda is Silas Lorbetsky, the manager of planning, development, and licensing, and not the operations manager. I'm not sure why he would be chosen, so I was just curious.
Sorry, Sonia Samiak did up the draft for me. She does a lot of work in distribution and making these documents, and I believe she pulled Silas's name from the municipal drinking water license itself. So yeah, as a draft, we can discuss that down the road and make changes as required.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that typically it is our operations manager who would be the one interacting on any of these situations, so it might make more sense. I'm actually not sure why Mr. Lorbetsky's name would be on our drinking water license either, but anyways, I'd like to see the representative that's contacted be the person most likely to be engaged in anything like this. And I know that our manager of planning, development, and licensing is pretty busy. So I just wanted to make sure we had that a representative who would actually be dealing with it. Thank you.
I believe it's just.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I believe it's simply because it's typically done initially at the planning stages. So I believe Sonia pulled Silas's name from. It might have been the municipal website. I can't confirm, but we'll make the change.
Yeah, and this document is alive and open at this moment because it being a draft now. Now, Madam CEO, at this point here, I guess we do need approval for them to continue with this, right? So maybe if you could read their recommendation, then we'll go from there.
Yes, through the chair, that the draft policy for water main connection procedure be approved and that staff is directed to forward the policy to prepare a bylaw to add the policy to the municipal corporate policies.
Okay, I'll motion that one. I need a seconder. Madam Mayor seconds it. Any further discussion on this document and this draft? Not seeing any. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, now we've got 7.1.3. That's the budget to actual report, facility and water, wastewater, April 29th, 2021. Ashley, fill us in. Or should somebody else be? Oh, sorry. Ashley, you don't have all the answers. I'm sorry. We'll go to Amanda. When it comes to money, I guess it's Amanda.
Sure.
I had a senior moment.
So what's been provided to you is the expenses to the actual expenditures to the budget for all of our facilities, water, wastewater, and then our recreational facilities as well. If council has any questions, I can try and answer them for them. There was a question at the previous meeting by council with regards to the railway station that I just wanted to clear up. There was a question with regards to the heat, as the heat expenditure to date is higher than the budgeted value. So during budget discussions with staff, Stephanie had noticed that the expenditures were higher than usual. She contacted a technician to come and take a look at the furnace. There was an issue with the furnace, so maintenance and some technical work was done to the furnace. So the actual there on the sheet is correct. So we are over budget for the heat at the railway station, but we hope that the situation has been fixed and we won't be experiencing overages for the heat for the future at least.
There you go. Anybody have a question for Amanda on this budget, Madam Mayor?
I just wanted to comment that I appreciate the treasurer finding that information out. And isn't it wonderful that in this new format, we can so easily see that, identify that there seems to be something that isn't following in the normal pattern, and get it fixed before there's a lengthy and impressive expenditure that ends up sometimes occurring with these systems when it isn't noticed that there's an issue with them. So I really appreciate, Amanda, that you looked into that. Thank you so much. And it is really nice to know that our new financial software is providing very valuable information to council. So thank you.
And part of it is that, you know, we have council looking at it too, right? So that's important for us as well. I did want to bring up one point with these reports. I know it has been a concern with the revenues being identified as a negative number with the little negatives dash. I have reached out to our conversion specialists. I do not think that this will change, unfortunately. I do believe it is embedded in the software, and that is just the way that the reports will be. I have tried other reports and they all come out the same. So once I receive a definitive answer via email, I will provide that to council just so that they can see that what the answer is from the conversion specialists.
Good stuff. Good report. Any other questions here? Now, I see in the recommendation, basically it's just received as and accepted as information, so we don't have to do a motion. Okay. Well, that concludes my report. Now, there's no correspondence or information that I see, and no unfinished business. So I'm just going to hand it over to you, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair Schulist. Our next section is Fire and Protection and Emergency Management, and I'll turn it over to Chair Poplinski.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a question, though, regarding, we had in our package a list of the action items that we had, and we have had a question actually regarding operations and Mr. Kuczkowski, and I was just I thought perhaps at some point in the agenda they would be talking about that particular list, but I don't see it on there. Did I miss that? Or would this be an appropriate time to direct a question to him while he's still in our presence?
Could I just ask, Gwen, could you speak to the action items list that you provided? I'm not sure what the expectation is. My understanding was that it is similar to how accounts used to be considered. So maybe if you could just speak to that and if we could figure out how to address this question. Oh, you're going to have to, we can't hear you. I'm sorry.
I'll have to talk loud and hopefully you can hear me then. Okay.
Yes, very loud.
So we were really busy last week when I was creating the agenda, one of 5, I believe I was doing on Friday. So when I was doing the action items, I thought that if I was to put them on there properly, they should be broken down similar to the way Amanda does the accounts reports. And I didn't have time to break them down that way. So I didn't add them to the agenda. I just included them in the package. So if you'd like to address them, please address them in the section that they're supposed to be in. So yes, Ernie, Councillor Poplinski, you could ask the question now as the operations is still in the meeting.
Oh, okay, thank you. I just wanted to get a clarification because at an earlier point in time, you had suggested to me that the action items were an internal document. But if we're going to approach them from that perspective, I'm fine. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't overstepping the bounds here. So this would, sorry.
So when they are on the agenda, they will be noted on the agenda, but they're not a public document because sometimes they're referring to in camera or to names. So even though council will be able to see them, the public won't be able to see them. So I would just caution on some of the content that's in them.
Okay, that's fine. So then note to council, if you're going to ask a question about anything that's in the action items, be mindful that if it's something from in camera, you may not be able to do that until in camera, or just be mindful to couch your question in a way that doesn't reveal that kind of private information. So with council's indulgence, we'll go back to operations, roads, and waste management. I believe is that where your question lies?
It is indeed, Mayor Love, and that would be very helpful.
Okay, so if we just indulge us, please, unless someone has a concern, we'll take that question, and we have Mr. Kuchkowski here to answer it. So please proceed, Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, Mr. Kuchkowski, thank you, Mayor Love. I see on that action list, there's mention of the Ohio Road, and I know we have been working on it for several years now. I'm just wondering if you could give us a verbal update. There are 3 different sections that we're looking at regarding the boundary lines and involving surveyor and lawyers and so on. If you could bring us up to speed on each of those, I'd appreciate it.
Sure can. Okay, I don't see it in front of me, but I believe I was going through them last week, actually. Okay, so do you remember last meeting, Silas was going to bring in a bylaw for the road exchange at the first house? And he says that he has to advertise. It was in the paper. So that's going to go, I believe. I don't think it's in here. Oh my goodness. Where is it? There's Silas. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I was looking to see if it was in the agenda. Mr. Larbetsky, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Just to answer that question, yes, we did give the bylaw for the, as I call it, the Rikuski Municipal Exchange of Land. I have to do that notice. It has to go into the newspaper. With the volume of the public meetings and the agendas, it's next to impossible to accomplish that task. I will get it done when I have the first opportunity. So it takes time. I just don't know what the notice period is, but I believe it probably is 2 consecutive notices in the newspaper. And then there'll be a 20 or 30 day period after the last publication. That's normal process with Shoreline Road Allowance. So any road closure, I believe it is the same process. So that is where that item is at. So Mr. Kuchkowski probably just forgot I mentioned to him, and he said whenever I could get it done, and we'll get to it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So it's on your list. Absolutely. Okay, Mr. Kuchkowski, did you want to proceed then?
Yes. So on the second land exchange, it was the larger portion of Ohio Road for exchange of shoreline road allowance. So I met about a month ago with our existing surveyor. He's having some personal issues, and he's referring that survey and everything to another surveyor. He's made contact with the surveyor to hand over the file to him. That's the last I heard. I can follow up on that to see if the second surveyor is on track with that, but that's all I know right now. So he's he recognized he can't do it, and he's got a second surveyor to attempt to finish this for us.
Okay, so did that answer your question, Councillor Poplinski?
Yes, it has actually, and I would, and if Mr. Kuchkowski could keep us appraised then of what's happening with that. We don't want to lose it down the road because it has been going on for several years. So, and I'm wondering about the third portion.
There was no third portion that I'm aware of. Or could
Okay.
you refresh my? There was two of them: the land transaction for the culvert and the first house on the right, Rikuski, and then the second one was the shoreline road for all of that portion within that capture area for the shoreline road allowance.
Okay,
there was no third. Okay, well, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. Then having completed that, is there anything further from council on that question or any other additional questions about it? All right, so basically, if you have a question on the action items, please try to recognize to the chair of that particular section that you do have a question under unfinished business would work great. When this is an actual agenda item, it'll be easier to address it and we won't forget. So at this point, we're going to move to fire and protection and emergency management, and I'll turn it over to Chair Poplinski.
Yes, thanks, Mayor Love. I'm just wondering if Chief Quad is in the building.
I am here, Chair Poplinski.
Oh, there he is. Good to see you. Okay, so we've got 8.11 and pages 65 to 72, and it's regarding calls for service breakdown. So I'm just wondering if you could share your report with us on that particular item.
Okay, on the breakdown for calls for service, fire department has received 19 calls for service so far. All 19 in the north end of the township. You'll see calls for 19 in the north area. The reason there's 4 in the south hall is because the south will also respond to all calls that are structure fires or well fires. So that's why both stations are like that. But total calls for the fire department so far this year is 19. Then the next 2 pages after that is the percentage that are broke down. So percentage of fires or calls we've had per section so far. Then the animal complaints so far, or bylaw complaints, is the next section, 2021. I received 19 complaints so far. We got a property standards complaint last month, which is a new one. The 2 animal complaints are people allowing their dogs to trespass and defecate on other people's property. And the other problem is we got a section in the village of Barry's Bay in which people pick up their defecating dogs after he's done his business, but they tend to throw the bags up into the pine plantation. I am trying to figure out who's doing that. I figured I found the 4 people that were leaving the dogs droppings behind, and I've sent letters to them, but I'm still trying to find out who's throwing the other stuff up into the bush. That's an ongoing investigation, just so council knows sort of what we're up against. The property standards complaint, that's an ongoing issue. It's being worked on. The 1 landlord tenant complaint that I received this month has been rectified, so that's been fixed. So that's sort of where that responds to. And then next page is response where Earl and I have responded together. Once again, we responded to a sea container on a property with a bunkie. We went there because both a bylaw and a building violation. So that's the reason we 2 of us attended that property together. That's been, letters been sent to that owner for that property. And then you can see where we've had 1, 5, 11 sea containers so far been discovered this year. I've had one trailer complaint that's illegally on our property, and one bunkie has been reported to me so far that's been illegally on our property as of the end of April. So that's the end of that report, Mr. Chair Poplinski. And then the next section is North South Hall Fire Hall 2 firefighters. My fire chief recommendations is hiring Dustin Sobolski assigned to the North Hall, Cynthia Wolfgram, and Blake Yemen to the South Hall. All three people, firefighters, 2 from the South Hall, have left, went for permanent careers. One is a paramedic, one is a career firefighter, and one of our firefighters in the North Hall has resigned, and he's gone also to become a career firefighter. So I left over 3 positions. So I'd recommend they're pretty good. Dustin's been discussed by the officers up here in the North Hall. They all know him. They've met him. They think he's a good fit. He's a nice young fellow. He works in the area. He's looking to buy a house in the area. He's growing up here, so he's a good guy. He's probably never going to leave by the sound of him. Cynthia Wellgram, she's was from the area. She moved out, came back. She got a lot of experience as a firefighter, both wildfires out in Alberta and Ontario. So she comes highly trained. She's ready to go, with boots on the ground. So, and she's also has a good job in the area. So she lives up in Hopefield area. So she'd be a good good firefighter also. And the second one for the South Hall is Blake Yemen. He works in the Cumbria area. He bought a house up on the Full Road last year in that area. He wanted to get on. He's a nice young fellow. The guys down at the fire hall have all met him. So he'd be a good recommendation for that hall. So he also thinks he's a good firefighter, wants to be very community oriented. So policy implications is I bring it to council to be brought forward to accept him as a new hire for the fire department. And once they're accepted, they will send a package for the VIS, FS, an acceptance letter, a code of conduct, and a training schedule so they know when to show. So I'm just recommending to council committee that they recommend to council to hire those 3 individuals for the 2 halls.
Chief, I'm just wondering on your second item, and before I'll give you this, and then we'll go back and ask council members if they have any questions on regarding the calls for service, and then we'll deal with this other issue. But before I forget, Mr. Blake, it's Yemen, and I think it's a typo. You've got, it should be Yensen, not Yeltsin, but Yemen. Jensen.
You're correct. I see his application in front of you. You're correct.
Okay. So if you could make that correction, just so
definitely
we know who we've got. Okay. And then what I'd like to do is to ask council if they have any questions dealing with the calls for service. Yes, Mayor Love.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering on the bylaw complaints. It has been noted by volunteers who are cleaning up our trails that they found significant amounts of household and other garbage. I'm wondering if these incidents are going to be investigated or if that's an ongoing investigation.
That's an ongoing investigation. There's 2 problem zones we got. I've attended those places before, looked for trying to find any kind of identifiable papers or addresses in there. This has been going on since I started here. There seems to be 2 hotspots in the township that keep getting dumped on a regular basis. I do go out there and look at them. But to this point in time, I caught one person last year, charged him. But again, this year it's continuing. So to whoever they're actually doing, I don't know. They're very remote, like they're up a Skidoo trail. So we do check into them every time we do get a complaint. We do actually physically go out and look and try to follow up. I do keep that
Chief,
on file.
do you use trail cameras at all?
We have used trail cameras in the past in a couple other spots, which rectified that. So I'll talk to Hillary and ask for his trail camera. That's the one we've gotten before. So we'll try that again.
Okay. Sorry, Mayor Love, I didn't mean to cut in there. If you were finished, we'll carry on.
Just to follow up, please, Chair. Okay, so if you wouldn't mind, Chief, just connecting back with the volunteer groups that were cleaning up the trail, and Mr. Kuchkowski has the emails. I'm not sure if you were copied on them from those volunteers identifying that they were finding significant garbage. Some of it was household. I just want to make certain that they understand that should they find something like that in cleanup, they do need to contact you right away, because it provides you then with the opportunity to seek any evidence of who is actually doing this. So I just like you to connect back with those individuals and make sure they understand what the process is, so that, and that we do want them to connect with you directly when they do find this kind of garbage.
We'll do that.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any members of council got any questions on any of the other items mentioned by the chief? I don't see any hands up, so I take it that there is none. So you want to continue then, chief, with the 8.13, I believe we're on.
Okay, this is
Chair, if I
That's-
may, Chair Poplinski, can we get a resolution for the hiring if I read it out for you?
Yes, okay, I'm sorry.
No,
You
that's
want to read
okay.
out the recommendation?
Yes, please. That the fire chief's recommendation to hire Dustin Sobalski, assigned to the North Hall, Cynthia Wolfgram and Blake Yemen, assigned to the South Hall for the Madawaska Valley Fire Department, be approved. I need a mover and a seconder.
So I'm making the motion. And Mayor Love is second the motion. Any further comments? And I will mention again, changing in the spelling from Yemen to Jensen.
So
And,
noted. Thank you.
Okay, no further discussion. All in favor? So motion's granted. Okay, so we've got 8.13 and pages 75, 76 in your package. Fire department activities. Chief, if you'd like to speak
okay,
to
Chair
that.
Poplinski, the North Hall 2007 rescue, 2007 pumper have had major electrical issues over the last year or so, so they have been repaired. Emergency lighting wasn't working, it shorted out and burnt the lights out in it, so they have been fixed and now everything's working there. The battery gave up the 1989 old pumper, so that's replaced and fixed. The truck's working properly. Safeties are completed on the 2018 tanker in the North Hall, 2007 pumper in the North Hall, the 1994 in the South Hall, and the 2018 South Hall rescue has also been safety and they're in good shape again. Training has been suspended for both halls until after the lockdown. This is a safety issue. This is sort of compliance. We're still responding to calls as always. On April 21st, I attended the Eastern Ontario Fire Chiefs meeting via Zoom. Their first thing we did discuss was the roles of firefighter departments responding to missing persons to assist the OPP when you first get a call. They broke down in quite detail on what we should do and what we shouldn't do, and what they will ask us to assist with, and what equipment we may be required to assist with. So they went into detail like that. So I'll pass that off to the firefighters eventually in a meeting during their training, so they understand if they're the first ones to respond and what not and what to do when they first get that call. The vaccination rollout for firefighters that aren't doing medical responses was also discussed. We got an update today that as of Thursday, our firefighters will be able to register, not register, but actually book for their vaccinations. So that'll be a big help for us to get our first vaccinations for all our firefighters starting on Thursday for booking. The fire marshal is also on the call. We got a new fire advisor coming into Renfrew County, which will be our fire advisor alone, like the old days, about 10 years ago since they've last had one. They finally filled all their positions. So the fire marshal's office is doing a lot of moving personnel into proper positions, getting everything filled back up like it used to be. So he says, as soon as we hear that the name of the individual, I'll pass it along. And then he'll be our contact for anything we need. The template for risk assessment is coming up. That is a large document Ontario Fire Marshal's Office has brought up. They want it for 2024, but that will break down every large building we have, any vulnerable occupancy, any kind of industry. It'll label all the fire calls they want, the amount of firefighters, the training we take, the services we provide. So that's going to be an in-depth report that we hand to council to review before we hand to the Fire Marshal's Office for approval. It has to be completed by 2024. We have options. I could either do it internally, or we can hand it out to a consultant to do that. The fire departments that have had hired consultants cost about 60 grand. So that'd be up to the council to decide which way they want to go, if they want me to do it or not. So that'd be a future discussion, but That's fine. We got the template. We waited for almost a year to get that. That's the first time we heard of it, or we knew of it, actually seen it. And we're back on to training. As of right now, I got a hold of the fire marshal's office and asked him exactly to get a detailed sort of idea what's going on. We do meet the NFPA code as of right now, so we can continue to do internal training. We do have internal trainers in both stations, including myself. We sign off ourselves. That has not changed. I did reach out to the fire college, or what's left of the fire college, for or what what's it called? I can't think of the name right now. Learning contract, where they can send a proctor up and do actual physics training if we aren't able to do that. That would, I haven't got back for the cost because a lot of the guys are, a lot of the people at the Ontario Fire College or OFM are still working from home or on holiday because of the COVID, so it's very slow to get information back. But for what they're telling me right now, even with the modernization coming, it's not going to affect our budgets. We continue to do what we're doing. You have listened to municipalities. It's just said, as long as you can get people signed off, unless they want to be actually qualified or certified, they'd have to do a physical place at a regional training center, or get a proctor to come in and do the physical actual part. They can do everything else online. So our budgets aren't going to be affected too much as of right now, from what I say, or into the near future. So that's very good news for our department. So we finally got through it. Small departments can't afford it, and they've recognized that. So unless something changes, we're in very good shape that way, as opposed to comes to training and regulations. So far, everything's good. Then to emergency management, we've emergency control group have had a meeting, discuss the municipal office being locked down and protocols, and what kind of response we're going to respond to with the OPP if required. So that was discussed during that. And the noise bylaw has been amended by council for the fireworks to allow up to 11 p.m. That bylaw has been sent to Ontario Court of Justice for approval, as it has penalties for non-compliance. So once that comes back, I'll bring it to council, present it to them for their approval. It's just we don't want to go back and forth between the province with the penalty part. Once they approve the penalty part, then we can make whatever adjustments we need to the bylaw through council. Hope we didn't speak too quickly.
Okay, does anyone on council have any questions on any of the items that on the agenda that the chief has commented on? Or anything else? Chief, there's just one thing that I wanted to, the issues with the getting back to the issue with dogs running at large and defecating and all the other things that's happening. Do we have at our, oh, I just lost a screen here. I don't know if you can still hear me, but
Yes, we can still see you and
okay,
hear you.
I can't see at all here. I've lost it. There. Oh, there we go. Do we have at our disposal things like signage that we can post in different locations where we're having issues? And I know we have some up, but some of the parks and the shorelines and waterways that we've got, and where there is a problem, I know over the years I've had calls and I've had people told them to call the township, and but it's in different places. We have in the summertime, especially, people taking the dogs to the beach and causing a lot of mayhem. How can we control that? Perhaps maybe with some signs or any suggestion?
I agree with you, Council Chair. I would, Councillor Chair Poplinski, I will check with the roads department, see if there is signs still in the yard one. If not, I can get them ordered fairly quickly and get them installed by those guys in those problem areas.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Any other questions? Did you have your hand up, Mayor Love? I thought I saw you. Nope. Okay, maybe that was the cat. Okay. Well, so I think we've pretty well covered everything in on the agenda. And they just want to make sure that we've got the only recommendation that required a motion we've already dealt with, and the rest of it was recommendation to receive as information.
Yes.
And no correspondence and any unfinished business dealing with the fire department. or other related issues? Nothing?
Through the chair, just wanted to ensure that there was no questions about the budget. We did include the budget at 8.1.4.
Oh, yes. Okay. Okay, I can certainly have, so in 8.14 is related information to our budget where we are. I don't know if anyone or everyone has had a chance to look at that, or if there's any questions, certainly we can deal with them. Pages 77 to 81. Don't see any hands up. So having no questions, we can move on. We can accept it as information.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I can, no correspondence and no unfinished business. Okay. Okay. Well, then I'm going to pass it back to the mayor. You can have your gavel back.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Our next section is Recreation and Community Development Committee. I'm going to turn it over to Chair Wilmer, and I just want everyone to know he has let me know that he's having a bit of internet issues. So Chair Wilmer will do the best we can, but if you do need to turn your video off to be able to get through this section, everyone please recognize that that's why the chair is having some internet issues.
Your love, yes, it's unbelievable that I have this level of service in Barry's Bay, and I keep getting warnings telling me that it's unstable, and then I lose you all, and you're all frozen. So I'm just telling you that I have been turning my video off, and right now most of you are not frozen. Ernie, you are. Anyway, we'll go on with the report. So we have, we'll start with 9.1, the farmer's market. And it's, we do have a report on it. Hi, Stephanie, I see you're here.
Hi, everybody.
Just simple, they're looking at using the Legion this year, but need some requirements from us. And Stephanie, do you want to comment on it at all?
No, the market, we had a visit from Jonathan DeGroot, and we went over a few of the options, and they went ahead and confirmed the location for the Legion, and they wanted to just let us know that, but they did have a couple requests for us. They'd like to be able to still use the parking lot here on John Street for parking, and also the use of some traffic cones and some barricades. So the barricades, I would assume, would be left at the Legion parking lot. And the traffic cones would likely be for the parking lot here. But they just wanted to find out if that was okay. And then we would create a lease agreement to say that they have the permission to use our parking lot. And as they are a farmer's market, they do have their insurance through Farmers Markets of Ontario, and they'll provide that to us as well.
Yeah, thank you. So basically it's just asking for some cones and parking space. Don't know, does anyone have any concerns? I think so. I look forward to them locating. I think it'll work well at the Legion. So anyway, we do have a recommendation. Sue, do you mind reading that?
Yes, through the chair, that the Farmers Market 2021 report is received as information, and that the township parking lot on John Street, adjacent to the municipal office, and traffic cones and barricades are provided for use by the Barry's Bay Farmers Market for the 2021 season be approved.
Okay, I stopped my video because I couldn't even hear that, but I can see everyone else, so I'll ask for a mover on that.
Can you see the hands up?
Sure. I see Kim's hand up, so moved by Kim for Mayor Love and seconded by Councillor Schuletz. All in favor? I see 3 carried. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, that's the main thing, I guess.
Can I just
so
make a
move on to
comment?
the-
Can I make a comment through the
Yes.
chair? Just wanted to bring just council awareness that we are starting on all of our reports to add if there's anything that's relevant to our strategic plan initiative. So on this specific report, for example, it highlights E12, which was one of the numbering in our strategic plan report card that will be attached to your budget presentation. So we'll try to be more mindful of that in our reports moving forward. Anything that refers to the strat plan and or the asset management plan, we'll make note of that.
Okay, thank you. And I did notice that this is hard sort of doing it this way. Okay, so we'll move on to 9.1.2, which is the RCA TV Memorandum of Understanding 2021. And Stephanie, I'll let you speak on that.
So the Renfrew County ATV Club came to us in the fall of 2020, and they had a draft agreement that they wanted us to have a consideration of. And what we did with that after that presentation was work with them to make the changes suggested through our municipal insurer, as well as the changes questioned by staff and council at that meeting. So what I did was included the email that was sent from the club president, as well as the vice president. And just so council had a bit of background information on the questions that were raised about off-road motorcycles and the new regulations, as well as the added paragraphs to the agreement as requested by our municipal insurer. So it was a bit of a email included just for clarity on behalf of not having to retype all of that and explain it. So that is the way that the report is presented, as well as including the agreement, which is updated with the maps and the locations for the trails. So does council have any questions on that report? Mark, I'm not seeing anybody. I'm not sure if you can.
Okay, no, I don't see any. I think that
No questions.
I could read the resolution through the chair.
Oh,
it's a good step, and I don't see any questions. So this, yes, please.
That the RCATV Memorandum of Understanding 2021 report is accepted as information, and that staff is directed to bring back an RCATV Club Memorandum of Understanding and bylaw for council approval.
Could I have a, I don't know whether I can be heard. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Poplinski, second by Councillor Schulis. All in favor? And that's a yes. All right, we'll move on to the next item, which is Summer Students 2021. And this is an information report, and I'll ask Stephanie to speak on this.
All right, so we've been approved for some of our students. We're still waiting to hear, as of the date I wrote the report, I still don't know about the summer sport, or sorry, the Ontario Sport and Recreation Grant. But we were successful in obtaining the Canada Summer Jobs Grant for 7 students for 8 weeks and 35 hours per week. So we will be going ahead with hiring. And I just wanted council to be aware of where we are with that. Unfortunately, I don't have any more information than as of the date of this report as well. And I'm not sure if council's agenda has blank pages with it or not. There was something with the PDF and it didn't come through on my copy very clear, but that was just the agreement from Canada, from the Canada Summer Jobs for you to reference. So I can email that to all of council if you're interested in that. And then the positions that we applied for, we listed there with what was approved, and we will notify the groups who are involved with this, and we'll move forward as they wish. So we'll see where we go with the summer students this year. Of course, the tennis courts operating and the swim program operating are all dependent on COVID and what it is the lockdowns entail. But our fear at this point is to not hire the students, and we would hire them under the impression that it's based on COVID. But if we don't hire the students, we may not have students if we try to run a program. So we'd like to move ahead with that as budgeted. And that's pretty well all I had. So I'm not sure if anybody has any questions.
Mayor Love?
Thank you, Chair. Stephanie, I'm just wondering if we move ahead and hire these students and then we're not able to open the tennis courts or we're not able to run the swim program, is there other work that the students can do or would be willing to do? Because this may be their commitment to us for their summer job that they need to, raise funds for school, et cetera, and so forth. So I'm just concerned that if we end up not being able to run the swim program in some form, for example, that those students, we would start to lose those students. They wouldn't want to apply again next year. So is there something else we can do with them in order to ensure they're getting the work should we be completely unable to run some of the programming we hope to run?
I do have the Jumpstart grant that we had applied, but then again, if the tennis courts aren't able to open, we may not be able to run that kind of programming either. We obviously would have positions likely with the railway station group that we could run in conjunction with. But besides outdoor programming, as far as helping with watering flowers, that kind of thing, those programs that are there, I'm not sure if Hillary could handle another student with the waste sites. There are 3 waste sites, so we could potentially move the students around. We can gauge their interest when we hire them. I have not done any interviews for the SWIP program at this point. The other interviews have been done, so we'll see where that goes.
Mayor Love, follow up?
Yes, please. So I'm just wondering if we could give some thought to that, and so that if we do commit, say, to a summer student who is going to be a swim instructor, that you do identify to them that if we can find alternative employment, should we be unable to run that program, we will make you that offer instead. Because I'm certain as a summer, as a student looking for work in the summer, it must be very challenging when programming, we can't give them a firm commitment that yes, it will run, and we do have the funding, so it would be nice to be able to give them a commitment of having that we will do our best for them to be able to have a job. And we certainly have lots of work that that could potentially be done, and I'm thinking in particular of in the building department, there was all those permits that needed to be scanned, and young people are very good with technology typically, and so if there's any way we can move things around, should we be unable to do recreational programming the way we want to, I really encourage staff to look into that and to speak to the students you're hiring to see if it's not the swim program, is it a no-go? Or if it can't be the swim program, would you be interested in alternative employment in some different capacity? Thank you.
No, I concur with you completely. And I know particularly the swim program depends so much on registration, and who knows what's going to happen this year, even if it is a lot to go, how many people will feel comfortable registering. And I think, young people are having a difficult time right now too. And if they secure a job and all of a sudden the job is taken away from them, it's going to be very, very hard. So I think when we're looking at hiring, we should make sure, and I guess it also means asking if we've applied for swim instructors, can we employ them elsewhere if necessary? Asking those kind of questions and ensuring that we have them, because I think before we hire, we should make sure we have I think we have a level of responsibility if we hire them to employ them for their terms of their contract. Anyway, just thought, any other questions? If not, we'll move on to the next item because there is no resolution required, and it's the Murray Brothers Memorial Ball 2021 rehabilitation, and I'll ask Stephanie to speak on this.
Yeah, so we went ahead and followed through with plans for the rehabilitation of the ball fields behind the Paul J. Yakubuski Community Center, the Murray Brother Memorial Ball Fields. And reaching out to Murray Brothers, they were more than willing to donate wood to help us with the benches and bleachers that we have now replaced. They've all been stained and they're back out for use. So the goal was to try to get the field ready for the end of May so that the field would be ready for use, again, depending on the lockdown. But staff pulled together and it was a lot of work. They were able to go ahead and stain and replace all those boards. In the next little bit, there's going to be a big truck delivering some field mix to the softball field. And that's been a lot of years requested from the users of the field, as well as some further topsoil to make the grass a little bit better on the field, as well as seed. So those are the plans. The other addition to this was the Berry Space Slow Pitch League. Under COVID, it was we're very appreciative that they're able to donate $1,000 towards the renovation as well. And so that money will go towards the infield mix purchase for the softball field as well. In addition to that, the Berries Bay Minor Ball League would like to put through an application for the McDougall Family Fund. They don't have the video up yet. They're just in conversations with each other to get the video started. But they would like to just make us aware that they're looking to also improve the hardball field, which is in the back, the secondary field in the arena. And they're going to be creating a Facebook video for the McDougall Family Fund, which I believe voting begins on May 22nd. So if that video appears, we'll share it to our social media. But I just wanted council to be aware and that you were supportive of their application. So the prize money would be $5,000, $2,000, or $1,000. And they would like that money to go towards the rehabilitation of that field surface. So just so council is aware, and we will make sure that these groups get their recognition for their donations, and I'll pass on the photos to Gwen so they can go in the newspaper or on the newsletter, wherever she would like to put them. And we'll also send thank you cards. But I just wanted council to see the update. And if you're driving by the arena, it's a nice site, seeing all those improvements.
Thank you very much. And I had to turn off my video because I was losing everyone. But no, I just would like to say, I think this is a wonderful example of, community working together and, say thank you to the Murray Brothers, to the Berries Bay Slow Pitch and the Berries Bay Minor Ball. There was a lot of work needed on that, and also to our staff who've done an incredible job of putting or remaking the bleachers. They look wonderful. So I encourage everyone to have a look, and it's a job well done and well appreciated. Are there any comments? All right, if not, then we do have a motion, a recommendation.
Yes, through the chair, that the Murray Brothers Memorial Ball Fields 2021 Rehabilitation Report is accepted as information, and that council supports the application of the Berries Bay Minor Ball League to the McDougall Family Fund for further rehabilitation of the Murray Brothers Ball Fields at the Paul J. Yakubuski Community Center.
All right, could I have a mover, please? Mayor Love, and seconded by Councillor Bromwich. All in favor? And it's carried. All right, so we'll now move on to the budget to actual report, and you all have them in front of you. Are there any questions? And I guess that if there's questions, we'll need Amanda. Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, Chair Wilmer. My question is pertaining to the budget that we have down here for $5,600 for the Cumbermere Senior Center. Was there something specific that we had to repair on that building?
Sorry, I can speak to that. So the senior center expense, that budget was created with the unknown in that building and where we were moving forward with it. And there's also an outstanding possibility of a bill coming with regards to some of the inquiries that were made late in 2020. So that's what that expense is.
Okay, so was this in relation to the request to use the building by the food bank?
That's right.
So there was a structural review being done? Is that what it was?
Well, we had an engineer look over the building in the late fall, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, are there any other questions? If not, we'll accept that as information. Oh, yeah, it's information. Okay, so then we do move into correspondence, and we have two letters. One from Joanne Plevin on the Wilno Recreation, and just basically an update. Just really talking about the year and planning ahead, I guess. And anyways, it's good to see that they're still, still got their heads above the water and are keen on what they're doing. Are there any comments? And then the second letter is from the station keepers, from Joanne Olson, and again, talking about what they're doing during these times and trying to do the best they can. Are there any comments on that? Right, if not, then we have no unfinished business.
I believe Councillor, sorry, through the chair, Councillor Poplinski, I believe has his hand up.
He may not be able to see me.
Thank you. Oh, no, I do see you, but you're over in the far corner.
Okay. No, my comment, actually, I had my hand up because I wanted to comment about the previous letter about the rink in Wilno. They're doing a very good job with limited budget. And if there's anything we can do in terms of helping them out with fundraising, I would be more than willing to help out. And moving on to the second request, letter from the station keepers, I think they're doing a fantastic job under very, very trying times. And when I see they've got 29 events planned for the year, subject to the COVID restrictions and so on, but they're really active. And once again, anything that we can do. I know they had a request some time ago to consider the washrooms downtown, and I know that's something we're looking at. But anything like that along that line, I think we should be there to help, because that's all for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Poplinski. I heard most of it, and I'm trying to limit my comments because I really am having issues here. I do see a frozen Councillor Bromwich with his hand up. So, Councillor Bromwich.
Thanks, Mark, very much. As Councillor Poplinski said, he mentioned Wilno, the Wilno Rink Committee. At the present time, they're very, very, very short of funds, and I think they're scrambling to pay their bills, propane, the electricity. They have a bottle drive going right now where people are dropping bottles off at the rink, and I see we have the $5,000 yearly operational donation in here. That might be a fairly timely thing to issue to them if we can get around to it this year. It would help them an awful lot right now. There's very few volunteers in Wilno, and they're trying to get more volunteers, and I think a lot of this has come on the shoulders of one or two people, and they're really having a tough time. So this would give them a little breathing room. So if we could expedite that, it would be kind of a nice gesture. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bromwich. No, I agree with that. And I think all of council would. Mayor Love.
Thank you, Chair. Absolutely. We have that in our budget. We should expedite it. In relation to the letter from the station keepers, they are asking for or seeking a letter of support from the township to append to an application. I'm wondering if we could please provide that letter of support to them.
I apologize for that. Yes, they were, and they are. And no, I would support that. I think we should.
Chair, do we need a motion to provide that letter of support?
Hello.
Sorry, Chair.
All right. Can you hear me?
We can just hear you. Can you hear us? You gotta love
I just
this.
heard part of it. I had already said yes. I agree. We should be supporting this.
Okay, I
and
asked
send them a
you.
letter of support.
Okay, do we need a motion for that letter of support is what I'm asking. Maybe I'll ask Sue.
Yes, I believe we should have a motion. Just
Okay.
if I may, through the chair, that council approves the CO clerk to provide a letter of support on behalf of the municipality for upcoming funding through upcoming funding with the Canada Healthy Communities Initiative.
Because I think that would help their application.
So, Chair, have we lost you?
It seems like it. Can you hear me?
We can now. It's just you go silent for a while. So I guess you need a mover for that. I'm trying to assist.
I was speaking for a while and agreed, and no, I totally support that. So it looks like Councillor Poplinski is moving, and could I have a seconder?
I will second
Mayor
that,
Love?
Chair.
And yep, and all in favor. And I am too. So carry. It's
I may
probably
just-
a good thing my
If
Sorry,
I may,
you need
if
to.
I
Sorry.
would just like to
Yeah.
read it. Sorry if I can.
You need to read it.
I had the intent, but I did add the word, the name of the station keepers. So if I may, to ensure that the mover and the seconder agree, that council approves the CEO clerk to provide a letter of support on behalf of the municipality for upcoming funding through the Canada Healthy Communities Initiative as requested by the station keepers. If the mover and seconder are
Yes.
you're
Yes.
good?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the clarity.
And hey, I apologize for my section. This is very difficult. And I will turn it back over to Mayor Love.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you,
Chair.
Stephanie.
And yes, and thank you, Stephanie. And Mark, hopefully you can hear us. If you are moving or seconding something or want to speak to it, just speak and hopefully I will pick up on that and you can leave your video off. All right, so we are now. Okay. It's like everything's on a time delay. Okay, we will now enter the planning matters and statutory meeting under the Planning Act. Under municipal reports, we have a shoreline road allowance closure application dated April 29th, 2021. And I'm not sure there is Mr. Lorbetsky. Did you want me to read the details or would you just like to introduce it to us? Mr. Lorbetsky.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will introduce this. This is a shoreline road allowance application submitted by Francis Sobolak. He is once again unable to get the cooperation of his daughter, who's the abutting owner, as to the property line, how it will be projected between the properties. We have engaged Wally Simpson, who has provided the preliminary survey, and he has taken every precaution so that it is done accurately, because the daughter, Christina Sobolak, had him survey her shoreline a year or two ago. So they've been doing some boundary issues there for a while. So the preliminary plan is accurate as to what council should proceed under bylaw 2013-38 to accept as the boundary limits, and has every right to do so when we can't get the cooperation of an abutting owner. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Larbetsky. So this is in regards to shoreline road allowance closure application in front of Lot 3, Registered Plan 334, being part of Lot 16, Concession 10, along the shore of Long or Halfway Lake, in the geographic township of Radcliffe, in the township of Madawaska Valley, in the county of Renfrew. Applicant Sobolak Francis Zed, file number SOB-2019-08. Location 712B Long Lake Road, RR1, Barry's Bay, Ontario. So maybe I'll ask Sue to read the recommendation.
Yes, through the chair, that staff is directed to proceed with the application, file number SOB 2019-08, in accordance with the provisions of bylaw number 2013-38, that the preliminary survey, part 1, submitted by W.J. Simpson Surveying Limited, be recognized as the establishment of the boundary limits with respect to the subject application for closure, and that the mayor and CAO clerk are hereby authorized to execute Schedule C, consent form for the application.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Schulis, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Is there any questions on this recommendation from council? I'm not seeing any questions. Okay, since there are no questions on the application, I will call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. All right, thank you, Mr. Larbetsky. Next, we do have 10.1.2 is development charges. It is a report from Sue, and I wondered, Sue, if you wanted to speak to it.
Yes, I'll speak to it. I basically just brought it forward on behalf of staff from the building department, planning department, and it was discussed at the staff meeting. And this is just a follow-up for council direction. As you recall, we did at the February 2nd council and committee meeting have a training session, education session that was led by JP2G, Brian Whitehead. And it was to provide council with more information as to the development charges and what council should consider, and if we should move forward to get a study to decide if council would proceed with implementing development charges. Following the presentation, staff agreed that growth should pay for growth. Staff is recommending moving forward with a development charge study and ask that council consider that Madawaska Valley taxpayers should not be required to pay for growth-related improvements. Their taxes pay for the current level of service and should not have to pay to expand services that will be required with the level and speed of growth that we are experiencing. Without the implementation of a development charge, the local tax base subsidizes new growth as well as services required with new development. Staff is requesting council approval to request invitational quotes to undertake a study for development charges for the township of Madawaska Valley. And I'm not sure if Silas or Hillary, anyone wanted to speak to that. I just thought I would bring it back to the table. Because as you know, once we get invitational quotes, the timelines to implement a study, then for it to come back to council, for council to then consider if they wish to proceed or not, you're probably talking quite a few months.
Okay, thank you. Did any other member of staff wish to speak to this report on development charges? I'm hoping they're listening. Oh, Mr. Larbetsky.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, I concur with the CAO. We have been discussing it, and we just see the growth there and the cost of everything. it is something that the municipality probably should be considering. It is an expensive study, but down the road, it may save some money. And I'll see if Mr. Kuchkowski has anything to add. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Kuchkowski.
Yes, as you're aware, in 2020, our waste site, our flagship waste site, Park Lake, has taken a big hit on the availability. I believe it was in 25% to 3% range increase of garbage. So that's taking the life out of it rather quickly. If this will continue, it's going to be hard to manage that site in the future. So this is taking a toll on our infrastructure. What's happening? So I don't know if this is the answer, but it certainly makes you think.
Okay, thank you. So what we would be looking at would be the kind of development charges that would be municipal wide. Is that what staff is proposing, as opposed to, and are you proposing development charges for water and wastewater? Maybe Sue, could you clarify on that?
Well, I think it goes to the scope of what we request a study for, and we can do both. I am aware that there had been previously a development charge on the water wastewater system. However, because we really don't have much growth that's proposed at this point until I think it's very timely in that council has approved for Aqua to come to the table and meet so that we can see how we grow, how much it costs to grow, how we can expand to the boundaries of town. So I think that's very timely. But from what my sense was that it would not apply to water and wastewater services, but that is something that a consultant could give council. Option A, option B, just township wide for development, that it's not for the water wastewater expansion, and or both. I thought the sense that I had was the previous water wastewater study that was done, because of the lack of growth on the system, the growth that was the amount that was collected did not even cover failed to even cover the study. And it's because there was really not much expansion on the services at the time that they did the study.
Right. Okay, so we could do a request for proposal that would give us a price for both, and that would allow council to consider whether or not they wanted to engage in both components or not, or pick one or the other. Okay.
Or if council, if I may, sorry to interrupt,
Yep.
or if council wants from the onset to say, no, we want a request for quotation only for development charges across Madawaska Valley, but not to consider water and wastewater, then we can do the scope of the request that way as well.
Okay, council, you've heard the report. Any discussion on this? Councillor Wilmer.
I just want to say I support this fully. I think we need to do this, and I think growth should be paid for by the people moving in, not by the people that are here, and through the developers. And I know we'll get developers or construction people complaining and putting pressure about it, but in other communities, I've had that, I've seen it, and it doesn't slow development. It really doesn't. But we have very few resources to bring in revenue to the municipality, and we need to find these. And this is one of the best ways. I mean, if we're expanding, we have increased costs, and we need to make sure that we're getting the revenue needed to cover them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from council? Councillor Poplinski?
Yeah, I just concur with what's been suggested. I think it's time that we looked at these proposals, and we could ask to get prices on both and then proceed from there once we have that.
Okay, thank you. Any other members of council, any questions or comments? Okay, Sue, I saw you had your hand up.
I wanted to confirm for council as well that there is public input. Municipalities must pass a development charge bylaw within a year of the completion of the study. if we proceed with the study. And before passing the bylaw, the municipality is required to hold at least one public meeting and making both the bylaw and the background of the study publicly available at least 2 weeks before the meeting. So there is ample opportunity for comment.
Okay, thank you. So it will be a process. It won't happen overnight. And I guess the starting point of the process is the recommendation. So Sue, did you want to read the recommendation?
Yes, through the chair, that council directs staff to prepare a request for quotation proposal for development charges study for the township of Madawaska Valley for council consideration and approval.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Schulis, seconded by Councillor Poplinski. Okay, yes. Okay, I wasn't sure there for a second. By Councillor Poplinski. Any further discussion on the recommendation? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, we do have really slow internet today. It's not just Councillor Wilmer. Our next item is the building permit statistics for April of 2021. Everyone's received those. Are there any questions? Oh, and Mr. Larbetsky is back with us again. Are there any questions for Mr. Larbetsky on the building permit statistics report? I am not seeing any questions. My gosh, you have been busy in your department. Mr. Larbetsky, did you want to speak to that?
I will just highlight two items that year to date in last year, we had 19 building permits with an estimated value of 949,000 plus. And this year at the same time, we have 41 permits with 4.3 million plus estimated value. So we are growing, and I guess just going back to the previous item, it's quite evident that development charges would have assisted along our expansion of our municipality. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions or comments from council on this? Councillor Poplinski.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's very significant when you look at we're only 4 months into the year, if that, and we've already had that amount. So tighten your laces and loosen your braces and keep at it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Great job. Great job.
Yes, certainly the building and the planning departments are extremely busy, and there was no such thing as a slowdown. No slowdown has occurred over the last 12 months and much longer actually. So we do appreciate all the work of that department. Okay, so we will receive this as information. And sorry,
I believe Silas had his hand up. Sorry, you were.
Oh, did he?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, Mr. Larbetsky.
Yes, just to the point of Councillor Wilmer's remark about whether development charges slow things down. Well, it's quite evident COVID, a serious issue worldwide, has not slowed down building, and the cost of building materials. I just had an email from somebody who wanted to start construction, but they say they can't afford it. Their budget just went out the window, and this was only 5 minutes ago.
Wow. Yes, actually, lumber is very expensive right now. I saw something on Twitter where a fellow held up a little plastic bag, and he said that this was his dime bag of lumber, and he had sawdust in it. So that was what he could afford. So it is very challenging in COVID. Oh, Councillor Wilmer, you're back.
Sorry, and I couldn't hear Silas completely, but I think, you know, when we look at development charges and if they are approved, the amount it adds is very small compared to the, you know, amounts people are paying now for properties that, I mean, they're paying 40% more than they were worth a year ago. And so when you look at it, the development charges portion is not going to discourage anyone. And I'm not quite sure what Silas said, but I sort of just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
I think he basically reiterated exactly what you said. He said it, actually, he said it first, you reiterated it.
Okay, thank you. We agree.
Absolutely. Okay, fine. So thank you, Silas, for the report and the update. We'll let you get back to the business unless you would like to be here for the budget to actuals. So our next item is budget to actuals for the Planning and Building Department. And Amanda, if Amanda is available again, there she is. Does anyone have any questions on the budget to actuals for the Planning and Building Department? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands, and Councillor Wilmer, if you have a question, just unmute yourself and let me know. Oh.
I will.
Okay, thank you. So Amanda, I did have one question for you. I didn't see any from council. I noticed, now I have to refer to the agenda, page 134 has the GL, it has in the revenue sections, building and demolition permits, and then it says septic installation applications. I'm wondering if that's the revenue from septic permits, if it would better align with the expenses for septic, which are, I believe, on the next page, page 135.
Sure, I can move that.
Okay, just so that we can see the revenue that's coming in against the expenses, because that is, again, one of the services we provide that should be revenue neutral to the municipality, I believe.
Sure, I will do that.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you. Any other questions on the budget to actuals? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So with that, then, thank you, Amanda. We appreciate that. We have no correspondence or information or outstanding matters in planning. We'll move to finance and administration. Under municipal reports, Amanda, we need her back. We have the budget to actuals for finance and administration for April of 29th, 2021. Are there any questions on the budget to actuals for the finance and administration? Again, I'm not seeing any questions. All right, I guess we will accept those as information as well. And thank you very much, Amanda. Oh, Amanda, did you want to say something? No, you're just good? Okay, she's back to work. We don't have correspondence or information items, and we have no unfinished business. So with that, this concludes the standing committees, and we will now move into the regular council meeting. We start with the confirmation of the minutes of the regular council meeting minutes of April 20th, 2021. The recommendation is that the regular council meeting minutes for April 20th, 2021 be approved as presented. Oh, Sue, yes?
Yes, Silas may wish to speak to this to ensure I have it understood what the amendment is. That on page 6 of those minutes, which would be page 145 of the April 20th minutes, there was a change to there was an error in the bylaw received by Silas, and it was to amend to reflect that bylaw 2021-39. Silas did the amendment because it doesn't change the nature of it, but it's to reflect part of lot 20. It had stated 19 in error. Is that correct, Silas?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. What had occurred is that the bylaw was drafted by Bradley Law Office. They too, in haste, didn't realize that they had quoted the wrong our plan number, and that is to do with the Dam Lake Road and the Rikuski, Randy, and I forget the other chap's name, Barry. And we didn't have the R plan in front of us. And then when I was about to send the bylaw for registration, I just noticed it didn't correspond with the acknowledgement and direction. And I quickly called, and the secretary just about fell off her chair. She says, "Oh my God, that is wrong. What do we do now?" And I said, previous instances like that, our municipal solicitor, Mary Shushak, said, the reference plan of survey governs. So it's clearly stated, and I don't know if you've had a copy of that survey, but it does reflect and refer to lot 20. So it is correct. So I went ahead and made the change to reflect lot 20 and not lot 19. So it could be corrected and registered properly. Otherwise, we would have had to have rescinded this bylaw and restarted the process all over again if we would have had it registered on title the way it was. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So it's just an error. It's an error in the minutes that we can, do we correct it in the minutes then?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Okay, so this is 11.2
Yes.
on that page, and it says lot 19. It should state lot 20. So noting then the recommendation. Now, did I get a mover and a seconder? I'm sorry. I've lost track of where I am.
No,
Okay.
not as of yet. I interrupted. I just want to clarify with Silas, is it lot 20 or part of lot 20?
It's part of lot 20.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, it does say part of before. I just saw the lot 19. Okay, so it will be amended to say part of lot 20. So then the recommendation is that the regular council meeting minutes for April 20th, 2021 be approved as amended. And could I get, I'm just noting that. Sorry, folks, could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Schulist, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. Any errors or omissions on these minutes other than the one that has been identified to you? Okay, I'm not seeing anything from council on that. Then all those in favor? And that's carried.
Yep.
Our next item, thank you, Mr. Larbetsky. Our next item is bylaws. We have bylaw 2021-41 regarding the site-specific zoning bylaw amendment of part of lot 6 and 7, concession 5, geographic township of Radcliffe, from community facility CF to residential 1 exception 71 R1-E71 and to residential 1 exception 71 holding R1-E71H. Craig Andrew Allen Kelly and Mary Jude Kelly, KEL-2021-03. Now, there is a recommendation that council does need to do before we proceed to the bylaw. Sue, could you please read the recommendation?
Yes, through the chair. That pursuant to section 3417 of the Planning Act, Council has determined that no further public notice is required in respect to changes that were made to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment after the public meeting of April 20th, 2021, which was recessed and reconvened on May 4th, 2021.
Okay, thank you. Could I get a mover for that recommendation, please? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Schulist. I'm going to ask for a recorded vote on this.
Okay, procedurally, I'll just call the members' names. So Councillor Bromwich.
Yay.
Councillor Poplinski.
Nay.
Councillor Schulist.
Yay.
Councillor Wilmer.
In favor.
Mayor Love.
In favor.
So there was some background noise. I think I have 4 yay and 1 nay. Is that correct? Did you say, Councillor Poplinski, I'm sorry, was it yay or nay?
It was a nay.
Okay, thank you. I just clarifying.
Okay, thank you.
So I have 4 in favor. Was carried.
Okay, thank you, Sue. We'll move to the bylaw. The recommendation is that bylaw 2021-41, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2006-26 of the Township of Madawaska Valley as amended, be given first and second reading this 4th day of May 2021. And again, I will call for a recorded vote on each motion of this bylaw.
Thank you. Councillor Bromwich.
Yay.
Councillor Poplinski.
Nay.
Councillor Schulist.
Yay.
Councillor Wilmer.
In favor.
Mayor Love.
In favor.
So I have 4 in favor and 1 nay. Carried.
Okay, thank you. And finally, the recommendation is that bylaw 2021-41 be given third and final reading this fourth day of May 2021. And again, Sue, please conduct a recorded vote.
Thank you, Councillor Bromwich.
Yay.
Councillor Poplinski.
Nay.
Councillor Schulist.
Yay.
Councillor Wilmer.
Can't hear anything but yay.
Okay, so in favor. Mayor Love.
In favor.
4 in favor, 1 against, carried.
Okay, thank you. Our next bylaw is bylaw 2021-42 regarding site-specific zoning bylaw amendment of parts of lot 20, registered plan 549, designated as parts 1 to 6 on reference plan 49R-15319, and lot 154, range B south, designated as part 1 on reference plan 49R-10122, and those parts of the shoreline road allowance along Trout Lake designated as parts 1, 2, and 3 on reference plan 49R-19709 in the geographic township of Jones from environmental protection EP to residential 1 exception 5 R1-E5. Darlene Santos, Simon Royas, and Luciano and Marie Teresa Pagliarioli. The recommendation is that bylaw 2021-42, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2006-26 of the Township of Madawaska Valley as amended, be given first and second reading this fourth day of May 2021. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Is there any discussion on this bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. The recommendation is that bylaw 2021-42 be given third and final reading this fourth day of May 2021. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Schulist, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. Is there any final discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Next, we have bylaw 2021-43 regarding the site-specific zoning bylaw amendment of part of lot 178. Range B South, geographic township of Sherwood, Barry's Bay, from community facility CF to residential 1 R1, 3 readings, Valley Manor Incorporated.
Mayor Love.
Sorry?
Mayor Love, excuse me to interrupt. I do have Silas. He just sent me an amendment. He may want to speak to that.
Okay, so sorry, Mr. Lerbetsky, please.
Sorry to interject, Mayor Love, but as you can appreciate, everything is coming at me instantly, and I just received the survey for this actual piece of property that's being added on. So for clarity, I just want to amend the bylaw to reflect after it says where it says range B south, that it reflect to say designated as part 1 on reference plan 49R-19749. That way it's very clear, very specific.
49R-1
9 749.
49. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so the recommendation then will be that bylaw 2021-43, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2006-26 of the Township of Madawaska Valley as amended, be given first and second reading this fourth day of May 2021 as amended. Okay, could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Any discussion on this bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, the recommendation is that bylaw 2021-43 be given third and final reading this fourth day of May 2021 as amended. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by Councillor Schulist. Any final discussion on this bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay. Bylaw 2021-44, authorizing the entering into and execution of a subdivision agreement with Cumbermere Lodge Limited. The recommendation is that bylaw 2021-44, being a bylaw to authorize the entering into and the execution of a subdivision agreement between Cumbermere Lodge Limited and the Corporation of the Township of Madawaska Valley, be given first and second reading this 4th day of May 2021. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Schulis, seconded by Councillor Poplinski. Any discussion on the bylaw? For clarity, we will be doing third reading later. I believe there's more. Is that when we will receive the part lot control bylaw? Okay, so this gets it started so that they can get things going. Any further questions or discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that one is carried. Really good to see that. Okay, we are at the in-camera session, and what I'm going to do is take us in camera, and then we will take a short break, and we'll come back and complete our in-camera work, but I think we could all do with a leg stretch. So the recommendation to go in camera is that the meeting enter in camera session to discuss matters pertaining to the security of the property of the municipality or local board, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, Ontario Municipal Act 2001, Chapter 25, Section 239, 2A, B, C, and F. Number 1 is the regular council meeting minutes in camera of April 20th, 2021. Number 2 is the letter from planning file number MIC-2020-10, dated March 26, 2021. Notice of incomplete application. And number 3 will be Wishart Law Firm update court file number CV-21-0000002-0000. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Schulis, seconded by Councillor Poplinski. All those in favor? And that's carried. We are